And then 一个415进来了。Okay, so this is a little bit weird, right? Because I'm doing it in English, which is very weird for me. Who here doesn't understand English? 谁在这边听不懂英文的？ Okay, cool. All right, we're gonna do this in English. Hi, everyone. My name is Julie. So I'm the starter for Motherly Note School. A little bit about me. I graduated from UC Berkeley and then got my MBA from University of Chicago. I was in hedge funds for a while, but my husband and I couldn't get pregnant. So then I quit my hedge fund career and decided to just concentrate on making babies. And then afterwards, of course, I got pregnant, right? So I have 2 kids. And I was always a little bit crazy about education. And so I researched a lot of methods on, how to get my kids learning, loving to learn, doing math, obviously, because I'm a crazy mother. Other than that, of course, it's to be truly bilingual, like I am. Okay, so I researched a lot of methods and I am crazy about books. So when I started, I bought like thousands of books and now, reaching upon 20,000 books. So I decided to start a group to share book learning, to share, how I taught my kids to read, to share how to do math. And then, surprisingly, lots of moms, tiger moms started joining, like Michelle. Like a lot of moms here, like Haiti, right? So we started just chit-chatting, lots of moms together, and everybody went crazy buying books. Everybody went crazy, teaching their kids Chinese. And then I started an online class, and it just went from there. I wanted to do this seminar to let everybody know how we started to teach Chinese and why it's working so well in our classes and the fundamentals of what you should be doing. Hi, Lucy. And then there's Patricia. I'm gonna have to ask the question again. 等一下，我等 Patricia 先进来。Hi, Lucy 跟 Patricia 刚刚进来，你们听得懂英文吗？
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Thank you.
因为刚刚大家投票 everybody voted for me to do it in English, so I'm gonna do it in English, though it sounds very weird. Patricia, 你在台湾吗？
对，我在台湾。完
全进来的超酷，我就看后面 I'm like, that's Taiwan right there, everybody.
很不好意思。
欢迎来 OK
谢谢。
我现在开始 screen share. Okay, so I'm gonna this sounds so weird in Chinese to me. Sorry if I sound a little unnatural, just excuse me. So how do you start to teach Chinese, right? So basically I divided it into 3 parts, okay? And most of us wants to start, begin, and right here in this very right quadrant, like not quadrant, circle, okay? You want your kids to speak, you want them to read, you want them to write. However, I think a lot of people kind of don't put the emphasis on the first 2, which is the building block for the third. They're just as important, if not more important than the third part, because without the first 2 steps, you're never going to get to the red part. And, people say, yeah, I know environment. Yeah, I know fundamentals, right? But it's actually more complicated than I think a lot of people, know it to be. So I'm just going to start there, if that's okay with everyone. Is everyone doing okay? And then if Yeah, if you have like questions, just raise your hand at any time and then I'll stop. So like I think the first question we have to ask ourselves when we do and when we talk about what's the right Chinese environment is like, do you have somebody at home who speaks Chinese to your kids? Right? That's the first thing. I think a lot of people here do. Some people don't, right? But that's one fundamental, like how much time do you spend speaking Chinese at home? Like when you wake up, do you say good morning or do you say 早安, right? When you eat, are you introducing the foods in Chinese? When you ask about their day, are you saying it in Chinese? So those are people who, have one native parent at home. Those that don't, a lot of them, they hire nannies or they hire, tutors, but how much time do you spend a day really at home? I mean, I have a lot of parents who go, yeah, I speak Chinese, but I don't speak Chinese to my kid. I'm like, well, then how are they going to learn? Right? Yeah, I speak Chinese, but we spend most of the day talking in English because that's easier. Well, then when are you going to start? When are you going to commit? So one of the first things is you have to start. And if you don't have that Chinese for your background, someone else just came in. Then you have to figure out how to get that in, because I don't care if it's Chinese or Spanish or French, whatever it is. If you don't like have contact with it on a daily basis, you're not going to retain or learn it. 刚刚是谁进来啊? Hi, somebody just joined. I forgot her name. Started with an L. 是 Nancy, 你刚刚有看到吗？哦，我现在再问一次。
没有看到。
Does anyone not understand English because we have elected to do English here? Okay. You have to tell me now or forever hold your peace. Okay. This is the way I teach in class, with force. Okay. All right. Second thing for your environment is, I want you to look around your house. Okay. How many Chinese books do you have? And now compare that to the amount of English books that you have. Okay. And sometimes people think, oh, our Chinese just started, so guess what? I'm just going to go get the easiest books in Chinese, like the ABCs in Chinese, right? Hi, I am mom. Hello, I am dad. How is your day? It's sunny outside, like very, very, very simple books. But if your child is older and say like a very good reader, a lot of kids here, especially from the parents who are visiting now, probably if you are all tiger mothers and fathers, right? Your child is probably reading Harry Potter by second grade. If you're gonna put an ABC book in Chinese next to Harry Potter, obviously they're gonna hate Chinese. That's what I'm saying. So even if your child does not know Chinese, you should still put age appropriate books. Maybe not long novels, because that's probably impossible in the beginning, but you should put like magazines, right? Or, healthier comic books where it's kind of age appropriate. They don't know how to read it yet, but you can read it to them, right? Or find someone to explain it to them. At least get some vocab in there, but it's at least something that is high interest for them. So that's very, very important. Like I see a lot of people go, I see a lot of my students actually, they'll pull out, what do they pull out? They'll pull out Percy Jackson, right? They'll pull out Harry Potter, they'll pull out The Warriors or, Wrinkle in Time. And then I'm like, okay, then can you pull out the Chinese book you have at home and then they pull out a picture book, 那个小鸡过生日 or or other sort of like baby picture books. And I'm like, well, hello, there's a huge disconnect. Let's connect that, let's make them equally as interesting to each other so that your child doesn't think Chinese is totally boring, right? And the other thing is those parents here that do know how to read Chinese, a lot of you, I know, just because your camera is off doesn't mean that I don't know, okay? I know you speak Chinese at home. I know you're able to read, okay? But you just don't take the time to sit down with your child and read, right? Let's just be very honest with ourselves. We're busy, we get off work, 超级累, right? Super, super tired and don't have the energy. But you know what? Make the time. You have to make the time or somehow squeeze in that time. Hire a tutor, hire somebody. And here's the thing. So a lot of people don't, you guys know how to use Zoom hands? 我觉得我在对自己讲话. Can you guys let me know if you let your children watch TV?
Specifically Chinese TV or just TV in general?
Or the iPad? Be honest. So when my kids were, younger than 5, I didn't let them watch TV because I wanted them to understand what they were watching, right? But then after the year, 5 years of age, we started watching like real live people on TV, cooking show, talk shows, singing shows. Okay, so here's the thing. Just because you're watching TV doesn't mean like you can't watch something that you like and they like, right? And turn on the Chinese. So I have plenty of moms in the group, which we have, like recommended lots of Netflix shows that are in Chinese that are great for parents and children. You guys can watch a lot of like the competition shows, singing competition, dancing competition. And then we did a lot of like soap opera kind of, healthier soap opera kind of shows that mom and kids, both like. And that is what you should strive for. Like if they see that you like it, they're going to like it. Just because it's in Chinese doesn't mean it needs to be Peppa Pig or whatever it is, I think it's very important to enjoy family time together. Plus you get in that Chinese with probably very little effort. Okay. So the next thing, see, there's a lot about environment, right? Next thing is, do you guys listen to music? Here's the other thing that I get frustrated with in class. I'll ask kids, hey, do you listen to Chinese music? They're like, oh, 哥哥爸爸吗? Or, 我的好朋友吗? Or, whatever it is. I'm like, okay, well, what do you listen to usually, right? And here's the thing. Now they're like, I listen to BTS. I listen to Blackpink. Okay. What? You listen to Korean music more than you listen to Chinese? Why is that? Right? Okay. And the answer is they don't know. They don't know the cool Chinese music. Why? Why aren't you introducing Chinese pop music to your kids? Why is it always, it has to be a song written from a poem or, it has to be a little kid song? That's not cool. That's not cool at all. You're competing against pop songs on the radio. You're competing against, K-pop. You're competing against J-pop, right? And you want them to intake the Chinese. So you better figure out, become a cool mom, okay? Become a cool dad and figure out, the best songs to put on at home, because that's what's going to grab their attention. Like my children are learning Spanish as well, but they've learned French before and they've listened to like French pop songs, I think it's very important. So there's KK Box on YouTube that we often put, like in the car or at home. I'll just search YouTube for like KK Box 2023, Chinese. I'll obviously try to type it in Chinese or else you're going to get some weird results. And then we put it on at home. We'll research like singers, if I haven't heard of them, and then we'll put them on. Let them get used to listening to the language, right? And we have, we've opened up KTV karaoke classes, and it's been such a blast. So in the classes, I'll put up theme songs from famous movies, right? Not cartoons, but real movies. And then I'll put on pop songs of very cool singers, right? So you have to compete with the K-pop. You have to compete with whatever thing they're listening. So in the car too. So don't waste traveling time. Like how many of you spend more than a half an hour traveling with your kids in the car every day? This is worse than my students.
I think we need some song recommendations. Maybe you can post them after the seminar.
Katie's laughing. You know what? My kids in class interact way more than you parents. This is despicable. Okay, I'm like talking to myself. I'm starting to scream.
Parents should unmute themselves and feel free to say out loud, just like the kids in Julie's class. Feel free to ask questions.
Right? Okay, you can let me know, like if you spend more than 40 minutes, and you guys, your video will not be recorded, right? So I'm not letting any of your faces go in public, so just feel free to talk to me, right? So here's the thing. A lot of us with smaller kids, say age 4 to I want to say about 11, you can download this app. It's called 亲子天下 or is it parenting TW. If you search parenting TW app, you're going to get this. It's full of stories. Okay. And then you could, play it to your heart's desire. My kids sort of zone out after a little while. So then we put up, I remember when I was growing up, when I was in the car, my parents would just listen to whatever they wanted to listen to. And that would be news, which is fine. Chinese talk shows, which is fine. Or you could find something on Spotify. Or there's another cool one. It's called 朱探长, okay? 推理故事集. This, I feel so weird going, it's Chinese and English, actually. It's very Chinglishy for me. So this podcast, right, is really cool because it's fit for smaller to older kids. It can get pretty complex in the Chinese, so I highly recommend it. There's a few native kids in our classes that actually listen to this. So listen to on the car. Michelle?
For those who like 宝可梦, like Pokemon, my son listened to the Mandarin 宝可梦, the podcast. So there's like, I can share on the chat room later. So this podcast just play the Pokemon with the music effects and everything. And then it's like each episode, same as the cartoon that's showing. So it's really cool. And my son listened to like 40 something episodes, and each episode is really short. So I'm going to share that. Yeah.
That's so cool. Can I get a link to that since we're starting the Pokemon class? I'm starting a Pokemon class. Don't tell any of my students this, but I don't even like Pokemon. Shh. But we're going to have a blast in there because kids love it. Okay, so environment-wise, the other thing I want to go through is like take your kids to Asia, right? Take your kids to Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, I don't care, somewhere. If you can't get out of the country, take them to somewhere where it's heavily populated with Chinese people, right? So, you know what's the crazy thing is there are some students in my classes totally, I mean, mom and dad totally Chinese, right? And then they haven't eaten 粽子. Can you believe that? They don't know what that is. They haven't eaten 月饼, right? Like moon cakes. You know, I think whether you're taking them to have Chinese food, Vietnamese food, whatever Asian food it is, you should take them to as many different types of Asian, restaurants as you can. Sit down, read the menu, order something weird, order something they never eat, order something that no one knows. I think that's very important. Just try out something new. And it's very important because they want to be able to relate to the culture. And that's very important. Okay. So here's the other thing. A lot of us, some of us, I think a lot of parents send their kids to Chinese immersion school. Does anyone do that here? Oh, someone raised their hand. You are alive. Hi.
Hi. Hi.
It's nice to know somebody is listening. So yeah, a lot of people go to Chinese immersion, and I think a third of our students are actually in Chinese immersion schools now. The only complaint that I have from the parents is that their Chinese immersion school is not hard enough, is not fast enough, is not native enough. And then so they come here and take our program because they want to read more, listen more, and get access to that very hard or native Chinese, or like native Chinese jokes, right? That we often crack in our classes. So, and the other thing you can do is if you don't go to Chinese immersion and you don't go to an after school program and you don't do it online, actually, I don't know why you're here then you should find them some Chinese friends. So then they can all talk Chinese together and have like a purpose. So the influence of friends is huge, So how many of you here do flashcards at home? 有人在这边是家里背字卡的吗？有没有？有 ，James 有，还有 Melody， 还有 Michelle。OK， 其他人都没有了，是不是？你们是完全不教中文是吗？ Nobody else does flashcards. Nobody else teaches right now. Okay, here's the thing. Flashcards are so boring, right? So I was thinking for the longest time, how can I make this task fun? And the way to grasp kids' attention is really through other kids. Like if you find your kid another partner, another study partner, and then they're doing the Chinese together, it makes it so much better. We started a like learn 1,000 word course, right? And at first I was like a little bit hesitant because I'm like, oh, they're gonna try to memorize 1,000 characters during summer. That's tough. That's 20 characters a day, but they're doing it. You know why? Because we put, like 10 to 15 kids together in one class. They're seeing each other like, oh, that person's cool. Oh, that person's cute. Oh, that person's funny. Oh, that person's hilarious, right? So they're making friends and then they're battling against each other every 15 minutes. So we're going through 5 to 10 characters and then we put them online through a flashcard game, right? Hades' son, Mason, loves that, right? And he's always scoring at the top, right? Number 1, because he's so fast. So they're competing against each other and then they study because they want to beat each other and they're having so much fun. I'm like, this is flashcards. Like this is great. They're learning 20 characters a day, and just because other kids are driving each other, they're memorizing it. It's pretty crazy. So the power of, your environment is more than you think. And then this is just another reminder that you got to speak Chinese to your kids. If you're folding laundry, do it in Chinese. Okay. If you're playing superhero, do it in Chinese. If you are eating, do it in Chinese. So now that we go forward, now that we got that taken care of, I want to see like a show of hands. How many of you have kids that are like under 2? Anybody? Some. Haiti just had a baby. Great, under 2. I love under 2. I love under 2 years old because that is when you should step in. I started my kids as they were born, right? Who here has, between 2 to 5? 2 to 5. Oh, a lot. Oh, I love that too. Okay. I love under 5 because under 5, you could totally get in so much Chinese in a short amount of time. I love the under 5s. Who has kids 5 to 7? Michelle, you have everything. 5 to 7 is good too. Okay. The hard ones are the 7 and above. Those are like, woo, hard stuff. But okay, so I'm going to talk about babies. I'm going to talk about the under 5. I'm going to talk about the 5 to 7 and the above 7. Okay. But how much time should you spend? So like all the parents want some magic pill, right? It's like, what set of Chinese should I get? Like, what set? I don't know what set. You should get everything in Chinese. Don't ask me. There is no magical set. But the question that you have to ask yourself, what do you think you need to ask yourself? I'm going to let awkward silence go until someone answers.
We should randomly pick somebody.
I
Oh, hey,
think you have to ask yourself, why do you want to do it? If you don't know why you want to do it, you won't have motivation to do it in the long run.
yeah. Okay. Anybody else? See, I love awkward silence. I do this to my students all the time. Anyone else? Patricia?
Why are you here?
Why are you guys here? You guys are all spying on me. That's why. James. Oh, Patricia left. Patricia.
Sorry，我在夜市，现在。
你在夜市，
But-
你帮我吃点盐酥鸡。
But I think the primary reason for me to want my kids to learn Mandarin is I want them to be at least know what I know or be better than that.
Yeah.
So I grew up and we spoke Mandarin at home. And even though my husband doesn't speak Mandarin, I feel like I need to give them the gift of at least knowing what I know, if not more.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yes. That's the key. That's the key. Okay. So you have to ask yourself this. Patricia hit it on the spot. How good do you want them to be? Right? So my kids attended the school that did Spanish, but they spent 3 months on Spanish and they learned colors and numbers. 3 months. 3 months in their semester or whatever quarter it is, they learn colors and numbers only. Okay, that's slow. So what do you want them, like how much Chinese how proficient do you want them to be? I think that's a main question, right? So I'm hoping that everybody here wants them to be at least native level to, I don't know, 4th or 5th grade, right? So they can go to Asia, walk around pretending like they're native and it's okay and no one will find out. So that was my goal, right? That was my goal. And I think I've achieved it because my kids are pretty good, I think. My personal opinion. Okay, so your level, since I'm in finance, I have to throw in a graph, all right? The level is, connected to time. The more time you spend, the higher your level. I mean, that's language. That's very, 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 very easy to understand. Now, this curve, it could start a little bit higher, okay? So since you are attending the seminar or you're attending our program where you have an amazing tutor or you are an amazing mother, father, grandparent, whatever it is, you may be starting your children, at a higher curve. But the rate at which they improve will drastically jump up the more time you spend. So here's the second question that I always get asked, right? Yeah, but we are so busy. What's the minimum time that we have to spend, right? Because all parents think that, language come magically, right? So here's the thing. I think, so the minimum requirement, I think from experience, from my children trying to learn, other languages, and Haiti could probably tell you a lot too, because her child speaks a gazillion things, right? Is that you have to spend at least an hour a day. An hour. Okay, so those with babies right now must be asking, wait. My kid, my baby, my 6-month-old, they can't even walk. How can they do an hour a day, right? I mean, I can't sit them there and try to let's go, let's study some books, right? Because they said we need to spend an hour a day. No, that's not how you do it. So you can still spend an hour, but you got to divide up the time. But you're like, how? It's all dependent on different ages. So I'm going to go through the different age group. And if you can't find time, you should sign off right now because I don't want to talk to you. There's no magic, all right? There's no magic program. I can't perform, magic on the weekends for your kid. There's a lot of parents that send their children to my program and they go, hey, they're already doing it 4 days a week. I'm like, that's great. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're all going to speak in English. I'm like, bad, quit the program. No, get out, right? So don't do that because weekend, you should still make them read a little bit something, all right? And if you can't find the time, don't try and pick up a language and think that your kid is going to be native because that's not going to happen. Sorry. So here, this is how we're going to divide up the time. You're not going to make your kid bang their head on the table, hopefully, right? We're going to try and do this naturally. Here's the rule of thumb. If your child is a baby, each study session should be only 1 minute because that is how long they are going to hold their attention, okay? If they are 2, you're going to do 2 minutes. How good is your math? How many times a day? You're going to do 2 minutes, 30 times a day. Yeah, 30 times, but it's only 2 minutes. You wake up, you take your flashcard for your, 2-year-old, you're like, 早安, right? 早安, 2个字, okay? And then you take your second card. Every card is the same every morning. 起床了, right? 3 words, 起床了. And then you take your 早安 again, right? Good morning, 早安, right? 2 minutes. And like a bad commercial that you can never forget, like ba-da-ba-ba-ba, right? What is that to? McDonald's, duh, because we've been flashed it a million times in our life. If they cannot memorize those words in 2 weeks, right, your baby, then you're not doing it right because look at commercials. I mean, it's stuck in your brain. I mean, every child can read the words on a commercial. Obviously, they can read it if you keep on flashing them the same. So When they are babies, you do short sessions. When they're older, you do slightly longer sessions. Okay, and you don't make them sit there and try to read 50 minutes. Don't do that, please. It's very, very not productive. Okay, but it's very productive if you put it into 1 minute sessions 60 times a day. Michelle's looking at me like I'm crazy. It's really not that hard.
No, we bring a book to the bathroom. No matter you're peeing or pooping, we bring a book to the bathroom. So how many times you go pee and poop a day?
Yes.
They read something.
Yes. If you're doing the diaper, right? Okay. You put them down on the diaper table. What do? Your flashcard is right there. You go, niao niao la. All right. That's a couple seconds, right? And then you open up their diaper. You're like, ooh, to, right? And put the flashcard there. Oh, to. And guess what? After you're done with your diaper, you're done with like 5 minutes because you would have flashed them already 5 minutes through the entire diaper. Oh, maybe they peed on you. It's like, oh, zang le, right? So keep all those flashcards near you to use. Make the flashcards. Okay, make them. Don't care if you write them. Don't care if you print them. Doesn't matter how pretty they are. Just have them ready. Okay, so that's the easy age. So my children read at least 500 characters by the age 3. And that is why I love babies. I love babies. If you have a baby right now, please flash them flashcard 60, 100 times a day, okay? Because it will work, it will sink in, and they are so smart. They are so smart. Even if they can't talk, they know what you're saying. They understand the cards. That's how smart they are. And by the time they hit 3, you're gonna jaw drop and be like, oh, you know how many words? That's crazy. You start flashing them stuff and they're like, yeah, 我尿尿了, oh, 我哭哭了, ooh, cool. And then they'll grab the flash and they're like, this is cool, right? So they're gonna do that. So start as early as you can. Now, once you read, see this poopy? Michelle, that's you and your kid right there, right? No escaping from Chinese even when you're pooping, right? So I know a lot of parents, me involved, in front of the toilet, we'll tape on the toilet 马桶, right? And in front of them, it's be like 大便,肚子痛,尿尿. It means poo poo, you pee or your stomach hurts or whatever it is. You tape it up there and you have them point to whatever it is that they're doing. Michelle, what do you want to say?
我有长长的大便，臭臭的，什么颜色的大便，全都贴在这里，就是你
Yes.
是硬硬的还是圆软的？
Right. Do you have soft poop? Does it smell? Does it smell good?
What color is your poop? What color is your pee?
Right.
So we take the fresh part there.
Yes. Get it on there. Okay. And then at this age, you can start, reading the storybooks because now they can sit. Usual, picture book takes about 15 minutes to read. Okay. So this is the time that you should read at least 2 to 3 picture books a day, right? Morning, noon, during dinner, after dinner, whatever, right? Before bedtime, when they're pooping, right? Listening to music counts to have them study the lyrics to the music, have the words there while they sing to the music, do it. So it all counts in that 1 hour. If you have a child that's 7 and up, like they can't read, they can't speak, well, guess what? It's still pretty easy. You still tape up words all around the house because guess what? They're going to know what a toilet is, right? I'm hoping that your 7-year-old would know what a toilet is. Well, then they can just memorize characters. Everybody starts with objects and nouns. If they know the objects and nouns, then you can start talking Chinglish and putting, the nouns inside, right? And then you start substituting the verbs. And then before you know it, you're doing sentence structure. So you have to start with just starting. And you just tape up your entire house, sacrifice your house for a little bit, right? Put up your little flashcards and start there because 7-year-olds, they don't want to learn ABC books. They don't want to see Peppa Pig. They don't want to They don't want to do any of that. But if you put up flashcards of stuff that they understand, they can usually, intake that just fine. Like we'll do, I know you guys, I hate this too. I don't like Dogman or Captain Underpants or whatever it is, but guess what? The Chinese version is actually pretty classy. So we would, for kids starting out in our like first year program, we would take out Dogman in Chinese, right? It's actually translated by a pretty good author. I put out Dogman. We learn the characters, we read it, they have their attention, and bam, I have them. So I think that's very important to have books that are age appropriate, even if it is harder for them to understand the Chinese, but at least their attention span is there. There are some rules for setting up that environment. And this is you're like, what kind of rules is it? I have some very specific rules that seems very common sense, but people violate these, right? You guys violate them all the time. So here it is. Please don't pick boring things to read. I have a lot of Chinese moms that go, I grew up memorizing Tang poems. I'm like, that's good for you. That's great. A lot of kids, they can memorize it at age 2 and 3, but do they understand the meaning behind it? Probably not, because it's 人生大道理, okay? It's about life, right? And that's hard for 2 to 3-year-olds, right? And I don't know, does anyone get excited through poems here? Are those hands up because you have a question? Or is it because you forgot to put it down? Brianna, Patricia, or Jessamine? Did I pronounce your name right? I should put her hand down. Okay, so if it bores you, it's gonna bore them, okay? So I know I have to teach Chinese in my class, right? But I haven't repeated any classes. Patricia, 你要问什么？
我没有要问，对不起。
哦，没事。哎，我很喜欢你，我们交个朋友好不好？你好可爱哦。
好啊。
我喜欢。Okay. So I've taught, like, if I count the number of lessons I've been with kids, it's probably a couple hundred, right? So I've never repeated any one lesson. Think about it. My goal is just one thing. Like, I have to be excited in my classes, and repeating stuff bores the heck out of me. And if I'm bored, right, I can't expect my students to be excited. I mean, Michelle can attest to this. A lot of people here have taken so many of my classes. I don't repeat. If I'm personally teaching it, it's not Kangxuan, right? I'm not repeat. Even if you're in Kangxuan, I switch up the reading material all the time, year over year, because like I'm bored. Michelle, what do you need to say?
Nothing. I get bored all the time too. So I totally agree with you. Yeah.
I get bored. You cannot be bored. If it bores you, don't even try it, okay? If it is a boring thing, don't even do it. Okay, if you're in Taiwan and you go to public school in Taiwan, right? Do it, because they're required to know it. You can push all sorts of boring stuff in their face and they have to know it because it's for a grade. But if we are in the US, you can't do that because it's not required. They can easily just say no and run away and walk away and know that nothing will happen to them because it doesn't count. Okay, so don't do it. So I spend hours each week trying to think. I have all ages in my class, right? And you have to think about this at home too, if you have multiple kids. What can I show them that's multi-age, interesting for me, interesting for them? So you'll see kids in my Friday classes that range from 5 to like 13, and moms, right? So moms sit down and draw with us because my stuff is not that easy to draw either. We draw, we train your right brain, we train your left brain, we train your listening skills, we keep you busy and active and listening. And that's what you should do at home, but don't bore yourself. do something that's interesting for you. Like, this is interesting for me. Putting my hand in 3D. I think that I was pretty happy doing it, right? And thinking about, what I could do for the kids and for myself that would be interesting. When we draw together, we have fun together, and that's very important. So these are, little snippets from my classes. And then second rule I have is you have to pick stuff in their interest. Again, it might not be that Chinese poem, but guess what? Some kids are actually into Chinese poems. So I'll take that back. There are some kids that come and they go, oh, 我超级爱唐诗. I'm like, 你真的哦? And then maybe we'll do one in class, right? With the teachers. That's fine, because some kids actually really love it. Other ones, they're like, no. But other kids are like, oh, I know how to play piano. I know how to play violin. I know how to play chess. I do this with my mom. And guess what? So in our third year class, I have them do presentations. What are we going to present? We're not going to present, how to read better. We're going to present what you're good at. We're going to present your likes and your interests. Somebody presented the game that they like to do. Some people presented, which Pokemon character that they love to do, that they love, right? Some people presented like stuff on their vacation or about Taiwan or how to play the violin. So we go with interest, and that's what you should do at home. Buy books according to their interests. Talk about their interests. Hire a Chinese violin teacher. We have so many interests. This is why I have so many classes and I'm never bored. So we have like history, we have like science. A lot of kids love science, but they don't know the Chinese. So then moms and kids come together, right? We have cooking coming up. Moms love the cooking class because they do it with their children. This is what I'm talking about when I say interest for you and them. So my husband and I, we read, we're pretty funny. We read Demon Slayer. Okay. Don't laugh. It's actually really good. You guys should try it. Don't be judgmental. It's actually, don't judge me just because I like manhua. All right. So, James, did you have something to add? Do you watch this?
No, but there's a Demon Slayer 7-Eleven in Taipei. So
See? Okay, it's popular. It's popular. And first graders, second graders in Taiwan, they read Demon Slayer. I read Demon Slayer. My husband reads it. We even watch it. We're so crazy. I even went to go watch the movie in a theater. Okay, so this is the part where I'm like, hey, I can totally enjoy this with my kids, given my kids are mature enough. Obviously, there's demons in here and slaying and blood spurting everywhere, right? So you don't really want your 3-year-old looking at this like going, ugh, right? So these we have like the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in our classes. They learn idioms. They write short essays with these classes because I extort them, right? You're gonna take the Demon Slayer class, you're gonna write. If you're gonna do this, I'm gonna extract as much Chinese as I can out of them, right? So their parents are like this. You're not allowed to watch the anime until you do the essay for Julie Ai, right? So they withhold the cartoon, withhold the anime portion until they do the essay. So that's pretty cool. So always learn to extort your kids. That's secret rule 2.5. Okay. Third rule is you cannot be too strict. Nobody is going to admit this here, but I know 90% of you guys do this here. My kid drives me crazy. They're not doing the right stroke order, so I made them rewrite it 20 times. I'm like, yay, way to go, killing their spirit to write, woohoo. Now they're like, Chinese is only about stroke order. So here's the thing. You want them to have the right stroke order, but you don't want to kill their interest, right? So you revisit. You revisit in short spurts all the time. You don't make it as a punishment, and you make them write different characters. Imagine if you wrote every day for half an hour different things. One thing is they're not going to be bored, right? And if you write thousands of characters, do you think your kid will be dumb enough not to pick up the stroke order? It's impossible because after a while, they're going to know top to bottom, left to right. What is their, I mean, it's not rocket science. If they write enough, they will pick it up. They might be wrong in the beginning, but then if they follow the order, like if we have a new word, right, they're going to see in the textbook, you write here first, and then you go here, and then there, and then the pattern, they figure out the pattern innately. They're going to naturally figure out the pattern. So please don't make your kid write something 20 more times, the same word, just because they got that stroke order wrong. It's very, very stressful for the parent and the child. Okay. So here, I'm going to show you a little clip of what we do in class. Can you guys hear me?
然后你说，哎，那就掉到后面去了，是不是？不见了，对不对？那怎么
Okay,
变
this
回
is
来呢？
me
你就要
trying to do. Can you guys hear anything?
Yeah. we
You
can.
can.
说一下咒语，这样，
Only I can hear.
然后1、2、3，再这样回来。
So I'm here teaching them. I'm here teaching them how to present, but I'm doing a magic trick in class because I want them to know you got to move your hands. You have to be loud. You got to correctly present yourself. And then I'll give them little tips here and there and try to make it fun.
所
Right?
以动作要快哦，而且你需要有一点那种表演的精神 ，OK？ 所以说大家来帮我说1、2、3，哦就没了，对不对？然后说，哎，妈妈帮我说咒语哦。哦，妈妈咪妈咪，好，下一支是什么？下一支
And then we'll do something serious, right? And then at that 15-minute mark where your kid's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall asleep, right? Michelle knows this because she's in our Kangxuan class, right? And Kangxuan material is so boring, right? It's the textbook from Taiwan that we have to do because parents love it. But every 15 minutes, we'll cut out and do something else because I see it in their expression like I'm losing them, right? When you
My son ran away.
yes. So like Michelle knows because the moment I see Marcel running around at home everywhere but the screen, right? We'll pull up something and be like, hey, let's switch because 15-minute mark, okay, kids' attention span goes out the door. So then we switch to something else. We talk about Pokemon for lower
喷
level.
火龙，哎，是
I'm
吗？
gonna skip around, but we'll.
你看，你看，他小时候长这样哎。
Animals, right?
我已经
Sometimes we do really gross things that grosses us out, but the kids love it, right? Just to snap their
有一
attention
只可
back.
怕的动物可以给你看的。
60岁的珊珊，说不定就很在
Now
意
this
耶。
is so this is our level 3, which is harder. You'll see that there are no pictures anywhere ever, in the reading material. No, I shouldn't say never. Sometimes there pops up one, right? Every 10 pages, there's a picture. So we couple it with chatting, right? Because you read, and the story is interesting, that's great. If it's not, right, then you got to chat with them. So that's how you should do it at home. You shouldn't sit there and just go through an hour. And then this is the last one. Make sure it relates to real life, all right? So if they're just starting out, right, and they're not that great in Chinese, they don't try to go very deep into literature. Always try to connect it with their life so they know that it's useful because language is supposed to be used. If it's not useful for them, they're not going to want to learn it. If it's not interesting or useful, they're not going to want to learn it.
好像不管我做什么，有时候我就一直都睡不着。Julie， 我也是那样，跟我的阿嬷也是那样，然后她传染到我的爸爸。可是我姐姐比我早睡，我半夜睡不着，可是她比我早睡。
自己保留吗？保留别人的乐
So, okay, so what you notice there is that we talk a lot of nothing in our class. It's so full of nothing and it's so silly, but it's so relatable. So that is what you should do at home. It doesn't need to be very serious or like course lesson driven, right? But they speak so well, right? In our speech class, they're talking about my sister. My sister wakes up so early and she starts, playing around, or I wake up at 5 a.m. every day and my parents hate that, or, whatever it is. We talk a lot about nothing. And then we talk about, Legos. And then I put, essay topics around Legos because they like it. And who cares? They're expressing themselves. They're learning pretty good vocabulary along the way. So, so at home, that's what you should do. Like, there's no magic coursework, right? Everybody asks, which set of books should I use? I'm like, no, the best set of books you should use is at home every day. Whatever you guys talk about, just switch it into Chinese. Okay. So I've covered a lot about nothing. See, that's my specialty. We've only gone through the first bubble. Woo! So I have obviously a lot more because this is a huge chunk right here, and this is an even bigger chunk. I wanted to leave it to Q&A. We talked about time, we talked about the age, we talked about what level you want to be at, how much time to spend on what age. We talked about the 4 rules, don't be boring, keep it to your interest, don't be too strict, be relatable. So those 4, and then it's Q&A. Anybody? Are you guys asleep?
Are you going to do a series on the other bubbles?
I'm going to do a series on the entire thing. It's going to take 100 lessons. Are you guys in for it? 谁现在才进来啊 Ellie 迟到了。谁是 Ellie 啊 Does anyone have questions or is everyone asleep?
Hi, this is Xiaoting.
Hi, Xiaoting.
I've always been interested in thank you for this presentation. It's actually really helpful. I've always been interested in like my kids taking a class with you, but I guess the time is always really late, and I'm curious, like, do you think you will ever offer like an earlier time? We're on the East Coast, that's why.
Okay.
I'm just out of curiosity.
I know East Coaster. I get a lot of them saying unfair, but we do have. How old are your kids?
1, 4, and 5.
1, 4, 5. We sometimes have 3 p.m. here, which is your 6 p.m.
Yeah, that's our dinner time, 6 o'clock. I guess that's that is the one, I guess the most earliest one I've seen, the 3 p.m., 6 p.m.
There's a reason. There's a reason for that. It's not my problem. It's because I hire professional teachers from Taiwan.
Ah, okay.
For them, it's 2 p.m. is their 5 a.m.
Got it. Yeah, totally understand.
Yeah. So the earliest I get them to, go is 6 a.m. for them.
Got it. So my kid right now is in a Mandarin immersion, and they're leaving. One of my oldest is graduating and going to an English speaking school.
Yeah.
I guess what advice would you have for, I guess, a kid transition out of a Mandarin immersion school?
You
to
mean
maintain his, I guess, Chinese. Yeah.
So it means you speak Chinese, right?
Yes, but I wouldn't say native.
Okay. Well,
non-native speaker.
I don't think it matters as much as you switch it into Chinese for your kids the moment that they hop on your car. So if you cannot introduce vocabulary, right? The moment they hop in your car, let them listen to one of the apps. Let them listen to a story. Let them listen to something that has higher vocabulary. And at home, speak whatever Chinese you can, and keep it there and make it like a purpose. Make that Chinese friend, or find some Chinese classes if it helps. Find harder classes. And don't do the one-on-one yet. I feel that a lot of people do one-on-one though.
Yeah, the tutoring.
Though people like the one-on-one. I think what they feel is that when you do group classes, kids have a lot more fun and they end up not. There was a kid that kept crying and screaming every single day with her mom, right? Said she hated Chinese. And then because she did the one-on-one, her teacher was so strict, right? Stroke order, blah, 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 this and that. And then the moment she came to our class, she's like, I never want to go anywhere else. She's writing now. She's talking now. She loves it. Her mom is like, I don't know if that's normal. Is she learning at all because she's having too much fun in class? I'm like, I don't know. You tell me. She's learning at home. I think kids are really driven by other children. So if you can find a program that has other kids and that speak Chinese, in the program, I think after school, weekend, whatever you can do to put it in. And I think I have questions in the chat too. Someone asked, can you talk about introducing 注音 versus character recognition for, okay, so English, right? You are learning to blend at the age of starting at 3 to 5. Earliest that makes sense is probably, if you have a fast kid, maybe 2.5, right? At 3. Most of the time, even in English, when they teach words, they're doing sight words. Okay, so the same thing with 注音 and character recognition. You always start with character recognition. Okay, but you have to get in. This is a whole topic on itself, and I'm going to do one on 注音, okay, and why you should learn it. But 注音 comes when they're a little bit, reaching 4 or 5, but by that time you could have already taught 300 to 500 characters, but 注音 is a must. For those with Taiwan background, same thing. Okay, you can tell them to memorize 800 characters, 1,000 characters, but you have to put the 注音 in there later because they get stuck. Even at 1,000, you don't know everything. And then if you want them to self-read, self-study, read the Harry Potters or read whatever, you have to get in the 注音. Haiti.
Hello.
Hi.
For anyone who hasn't taken Julie's classes, I highly, highly recommend it. My son loves her and loves her classes. And in like maybe 2 years that he's taking classes with her, his Chinese has improved dramatically. So just kind of throwing it out there, her methodology and all the way that she approaches everything, there is a method to her madness, there's a reason to her madness, and it all works. So I just wanted to quickly say that. But my question is as my son is reading, there will be words that he doesn't know. And the mom in me is like, hey, stop what you're reading, go on the dictionary, look it up, and then, try to see if you can, kind of learn it that way. But he doesn't want to do that. It's too time consuming. Do you have a different way that he can kind of, do you find that like if he reads the general passage and he gets the idea, that's good enough? Should I be worried if he doesn't know certain words as he's reading?
I think it's 2 parts, yes and no. So you should definitely kids, they want to read the story, they're engrossed in it, they can understand it without understanding every character. But you want them to learn the characters, right? Because we want them to do that. So what I had so Mason is at such an amazing, his progress has been so amazing. I don't know if it's because he takes 10 hours a day.
I will tell you, this sounds so crazy, but my son, he is 9. He begs me to take Julie's classes. I have to tell him, hey, this is going to be 5 hours out of your day. Are you sure you want to take these classes? And he takes it. He has no complaints. He is so loud in class. I'm worried about the other parents, but he loves it. I will tell you, he loves Julie's classes, and whatever she does keeps him so evolved. He will beg me for 5 classes a day. So he will spend 5 hours on Chinese a day without me having to nag him at all.
Yeah, well, here's a written example. So when Mason started with us, he couldn't read that well. He actually couldn't understand us that well. And I was like a little bit worried. But you know what? 2 years in the program, he's now can understand stuff at the highest level, doing idioms, right? Doing the presentation. He's in our news reporter class. And it's just amazing what he can do now. You know, he's literally, you cannot tell he's only studied for that little bit amount of time because he spends 5 hours a day with us during summer. But here, going back, what you should do is this. So if you have a child who is fast, right? A fast reader in English, learn stuff fast, probably gifted, okay? Because most of the kids in our classes, I think, are gifted, okay? They hate repetition. They hate going slow. And that is why we don't go slow in class. I come back and repeat, but I never go that slow. So what you do is you let them read, but you go, hey, Mason, I'm going to make a deal with you. All you got to do is to take your pencil, and this might hurt some of the moms here that love books, right? Take your pencil, put little check marks by the words that you don't know. It takes half a second, okay? Half. And what we're going to do is every day, you're going to check out 2 words, okay? Or 3, because it takes, what, a minute, right? You can go, you let them use your cell phone on Plico and then write it into Plico. Let them check out the words and just write it on a card. It takes like literally 60 seconds for 3 characters. Just do 3. Just do 3 a day and it's going to come. So that's what I had my kids do. And with the idioms too, right? If you don't know something, go ahead and circle it, mark it down. Or what I did was I also sometimes used my phone, and then, or, you know, we did a whole group bio of the scanner or whatever it is, right? I would scan it, print it out, and they can mark it up the way they want, okay? And it won't hurt you. So that's what I do. Catherine?
Hello， 老师你好，可以用中文问吗？
可以啊。
我想请问一下，就是您的小孩在家里，你就是说父母可以跟他们讲中文，但是他们回的时候是回英文还是中文呢？那你有要求他们跟您就是要用中文回答这样子吗？就是说，父母就小孩上学之后如果回来，然后一直用英文回答你，这件事情需要要求吗？还是说对
Catherine 妈咪，你的声音好甜美哦。
谢谢。
那个我会叫他们跟我讲中文，可是要看你自己小孩子的程度哦。就是如果刚刚开始学的话，他们会的字就是可以夹在英文里面。可是如果你知道你的小孩有这个程度，可以以用中文来回答的话，我绝对会是要求他们回答中文的。对。那如果是他们就是超过他们知道的字的范围的话，那我会帮他们先讲，让他下一次就知道了。可是我会要求他们用中文回答我，就是以他们的能力范围内，那我会要求。对，
我想补充一下呢，因为我的老公是 ABC，那他是会说中文，所以一些简单的中文呢，我会要求我老公用中文讲，因为如果爸爸也不讲中文的话，如果他知道但是他不讲的话呢，小孩子就会学爸爸就不讲这样子。所以如果你有 your partner can speak Chinese, can some Chinese, very low level Chinese, make them speak as well.
Yeah. So really quickly, the question was, if I speak to my child in Chinese, do you expect them to respond in Chinese? And the answer is, it depends on their ability. If they can, I would ask for them to. If they can't, then they can do the Chinglish and put in vocab that they know. Jessamine 有问题吗？我有点听不太清楚哎，你可以大声一点吗？Jessamine 妈咪，
可以听得见吗？
哦，听得见了。
那我想请问一下，你的课是几岁开始？
我们的
孩子要几岁可以开始上？
我们的课其实最小有来的大概是5岁，那通常都是来跟我们学注音或是认字，还是比较少5岁。我觉得要看他们的能不能坐得住吧。对啊，Michelle 的 Marcel 就是差不多5岁开始跟我们上课的。
他是学注音4岁半吧？
对，4岁半。可是那时候像 Michelle 妈咪，她非常厉害，她就是非常的努力，她会陪在旁边。对。
The East Coast mommy that were like wondering what to do when how to attend the class during dinner time. We attend the class during dinner. He's like eating his rice in front of the Zoom, in front of the so I help him to press all the buttons because his hands are so messy. And so that's what we do because we live in East Coast and we start the class at 7 and he's still having dinner at the time. And sometimes when he's done, then we just like clean up everything and then so he can like take out the books and and start writing. But we started during dinner time.
Yeah, I see them at eating all the time. It makes me so hungry. So they eat dinner, or when they're in Hong Kong, they're eating breakfast. They're always eating. Yeah. Anyone else have questions?
对不起，我还有一个问题，就是我是从台湾来的，但是因为在这边的书，有的时候我不一定能够全部可以找得到是繁体字，所以我就会读那个简体字的书给我女儿听。那我想问一下，她像3岁，然后我不知道说，我有的书是简体字，有的书是繁体字，这样子念给她听，那她当然会看到那些字，会不会 confuse 她？
不会耶，绝对不会。So 我跟你说，简体字跟繁体字你完全不要担心，因为只要你去学中文，小孩子可以分得出来哪个是简体，哪个是繁体字，其实还蛮神奇的。So the question is, I read the simplified books because I cannot find, the traditional books, right? Because they're not as readily available. Would they get confused with the simplified and traditional fonts? And the answer is no. Kids are very, very smart. We have kids learning simplified at their immersion school, and then they learn traditional here, and now they read both. So for them to transition is super quick and easy. I brought up my kids learning traditional, and I never had to teach them to read simplified, but they just picked it up while reading. They're like, oh, guessing what it should be, and 99% of the time they're right. Or they watch a soap opera with me, and then nowadays soap opera, the subtitle are all in simplified, so then they pick it up that way, and they just know they don't get confused. 他们完全都不会搞错的，没有关系。而且你这样子也好，因为你这样之后他们2个都知道。And I am not biased at all. I think if it's Chinese, learn both. The more you do, the happier we are. Lucy.
Hi, thank you so much, Julie. And I think this question might actually be for Michelle. Thank you for putting that in the chat. I speak Cantonese at home to my 3.5-year-old, but I do eventually want him to learn Mandarin. And I speak both myself. Michelle, when do you think would be a good time? It sounded like your son started at 4.5 and started taking classes. Are they gonna get confused? That's kind of my fear.
Okay, so to be honest, he started taking Julie class at 4.5 because Julie started her class at that time. But I started speaking Mandarin to my sons since he was 6 months old. And what I did is making friends with Mandarin speaking friends, like family. We have weekly meeting. Like we meet with the same group of Mandarin speaking children every single week, all the way until COVID hits. So that, and then I take him to Mandarin speaking restaurants every week to get the environment exposures. And my son also went to Mandarin speaking preschool, and we speak Cantonese at home, but all the TV that he was watching was in Mandarin. And so because my goal, when Julie asked, what's your goal for Chinese? I want them to be trilingual and biliteracy to native level. And that's why I put a lot of time and effort into it. But you need to divide up the time and places so that he knows when you're speaking with that group of friends, they speak Mandarin, and I don't translate from the very beginning. Like, so when we meet with those friends, because you don't need to translate, they know what you're talking about, the kids. And I only translate because I want my friends to know that we are speaking certain things, but not to the children's. So I have, and I start teaching him Zhuyin because I want him to self-learn Mandarin with all the material that I got. So that's why I attend Julie class at 4.5. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have another question here from Deanie. She said, are there any Chinese books that are Montessori friendly? I can't seem to find books that, doesn't have talking animals and things. Deanie, guess what? I was the program director for the largest Montessori in the world. They're called Guideposts. I did the program for them. And yeah, there's a lot of talking animals and things, right? That Montessori people don't like. So that's why you should learn Chinese with doing the real life stuff, which means you have to work a little bit harder, okay? Or watch some, I know if your kid is small, you probably don't want to be watching TV because you're Montessori inspired, right? So you go out, you go to Asia, you do the menu, read a menu, read real life stuff, okay? And do your cards. And then I have Brianna, who said, I'm always more comfortable in English than Chinese. How do other parents get over the imposter syndrome? But just start, because if kids can see that you stink at something, right? They might actually like it. So I have really bad Spanish, right? I speak Spanish like I do English, and my kids just laugh so hard. And that makes them want to do Spanish even more because they just want to do stuff that I can't. I think if you do it together, they see you're trying, they can see that you don't care if you lose a little face by not pronouncing something correctly, then they're more willing to try. So, I think it's also good. Catherine, mommy. 我不知道那个是不是 new hand 还是 old hand。
不好意思，我不小心按到了。
没关系。那没有问题的话，我们今天就这样咯。还有人有问题吗？没有咯，那就谢谢大家来咯。还有什么？
我想补充一下刚刚那个 Montessori 的 questions， 我觉得巧虎就是 Montessori inspired， 因为他的书也有真人的示范，但是巧虎 is only for like 5 and below. Yes, I'm not sure if your age group is. Kids do like the characters, so Chaohu is like blend into it. So that's the best Montessori inspired material that I found.
Sometimes, yeah, it's a blend, but 你知道 true Montessori people 会说为什么会有个 talking tiger， 然后and then it's creepy when they talk, his mouth doesn't move. I found it creepy. But you know what? A lot of people love Chaohu, right? So who am I to say anything? Because kids love Chaohu, right? They even had a joke said, I am the Chaohu for teenagers right now. Basically, whatever I say, go. Have you heard that in the group? Whatever Julie Ai says, the kids just do it. It's pretty funny. Except my mouth moves when I talk. Yeah, Chaohu is Montessori inspired. I do think Chaohu has a lot of educational value though. They teach you to wash your hands, right? They put up words, they teach 注音, they teach a lot of good behavior. So, it is very, very, very positive.
And then it also have Cantonese and simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese, different versions. Yeah.
We have magazine. They go slow, very minimal flashing images. Okay, it's not like a cartoon. If anything, they're really slow. So that's always good. Okay. It went over by half an hour, just like my classes. Every time I say it's an hour class, it turns into an hour 45. All right, guys, have a good night, and especially East Coasters. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. That's really great.
Bye. Bye. Bye, everyone.